Hi, today we're talking about building healing momentum and helping the brain heal, do the healing work, do its healing work for overcoming anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress and building lasting wellness. And I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist, an emotional wellness coach, and a practitioner mentor. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And the brain has a beautiful process for this, but this process does get stopped and blocked. And when that happens, we're going to notice symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress building and building and building as long as that process is blocked. And so I really specialize in helping that process get unblocked, to get the brain doing the work it was supposed to be doing. And when the brain can do that work, it also does its other work of building health and wellness, of helping you have insights, clarity, making accurate and healthy, effective ways of being in your life. Not for my life, for you, but for your life, whatever that is, whatever you're up against, whatever your goals are, whatever your life requires of you. Your brain's job is to make that for you. If this process gets blocked, you don't get the things. So you're trying to reach the goals, you're trying to have the relationships, you're trying to be who you are, and it's just not working well. And so that's this getting that part unblocked and up and running, getting you what you want and functioning well and thriving in your life is really what I specialize in, especially with people with with histories of complex trauma, abuse, and neglect in early childhood. And generational trauma and those sorts of things that require quite a bit of healing momentum and building healing momentum. If people have simple disorders of anxiety, depression, or trauma, meaning that they have one issue, like are very simple typically. One traumatic event is a pretty simple trauma. That doesn't mean it's nice. It doesn't mean it's pretty. It doesn't mean it's easy. It just means that it's less complex. It's more simple. There's not a lot of healing momentum that needs to be created. As a matter of fact, the better your early relationships were at meeting your needs, they already built a lot of your healing momentum. But when we need to build healing momentum, that's really I have processes for this and what we need to be doing. So I just want to talk about that today, and I want to also clear up some misunderstandings. What I really there's some interventions that really work with the part of the brain's healing process that support that part of the brain to stop blocking the whole thing and let the healing happen. It's very simple. These interventions work very quickly. They take 30 seconds to 2 minutes. I have helped somebody resolve a PTSD from a car accident disorder in an hour or less. Um, this does not take long to get this stuff healing. I've helped people resolve traumatic events, event in under an hour. This getting that stuff, even though it's shutting down someone's entire life, getting this unblocked and moving is powerful. However, when we're talking about complex trauma, there's so many things that were not built in complex PTSD with that developmental and early development trauma, challenges, neglect and abuse. There are so many things that the brain was not able to build. And so um, uh, and so there's many, and that this process got blocked early because it needs specific support, and it needs a specific body support. It needs lots of the comforting, the holding. When a child goes through something, they need their safe place, their adults at the safe place, and not through words. But through the sounds that pass between the two, between the touch that goes between the two, that signals safety to that child's brain, right? You could see a child and a parent together, and if the parent is doing something that we look like is soothing, that we don't know that child's nervous system knows if it is or isn't. And so we need that safety stuff happening over and over again because it helps unblock this process. all that nurturing we're talking about in early childhood is unblocking this process for children. And so they're healing, they're growing, and they're shifting out of fight or flight and into a regulated state where all the healing and building and construction happens. All that, that's the part of the brain that knows how to thrive. The survival system part does not know how to thrive. It only knows how to survive. And so children that don't get help coming out of a survival state stay in there, and they have, their brain is building more and more survival strategies, and it's not getting the time it needs to spend in building thriving strategies. And so as children get older, they have tons of survival strategies but not any thriving strategies. And if the more successful people are, they've been able to shift these survival strategies to really look like health and wellness, but really underneath them, they're actually survival strategies. Like compulsive working is like this, taking care of others, people pleasing. Anytime we're doing excessive things or not enough things, we can suspect this stuff is going on. So, and I want you to understand this is very complex healing work that needs to take place. This is not the same thing as a 1 hour of work. And one of my intentions for this was really to correct some assumptions that it would be, I would get one of these interventions, do some tapping, and my brain would fix it. Um, your brain will fix something. Every time you do an intervention, your brain really will be able to fix something it hasn't been able to fix before, because the brains require specific support to complete their healing process. So, um, so one of the first things that we're doing is we're really helping people. This is what I do, is we need to be able to restore all the function, right? People want to stop screaming at their children, right? Well, depending on their healing momentum, is going to tell us that they've already got, is going to tell us how quickly we're going to get there, right? But if they come to me and they can't regulate their emotions, they can't regulate their nervous system, they can't, and their system does not utilize fear well, or they're overreactive, they're angry, their system's full of unresolved trauma, and they're trying to have a healthy relationship. It doesn't work like that. Your brain doesn't have enough wellness and thriving to create that, and it can't. That your nervous system's too full, and full of unresolved material that is supposed to have already been used for building your health and wellness. So it's like unbuilt health and wellness is stuck in your system, and it looks like you're reactive, but really this process is blocked, and your brain hasn't been able to go through its building and thriving process. And even though you've been reading all these books, and you want to be this amazing parent, or you want to be this amazing business owner, and you've got all the skills, once you go into a survival state, you don't have access to that. And so we need to get a lot of stuff built. Your foundation, I'm looking at people's foundation. I have strategies for rebuilding the foundation. Hey, let's go in here. The foundation is really about, what does your mind body system do with fear? Can it process fear? If it can't, we're working on that. We're working on fear processing. We need your mind body system to utilize fear and be able to convert it into what it does with fear, which is courage, bravery, hope, new beginnings, new ways of being. Fear is really, it's painful in the body, but it is a highly constructive material. If you are full of fear, great. If you get processed, you're going to be full of courage. You're going to be full of new beginnings. You're going to be full of bravery, full of hope. There's so many things that come from the processing of fear. This is the foundational stuff. How you foundationally uh, interpret and process your information, your emotions, is really big. So we set up practices for that. Once your brain is really good at fear, once you and your brain are really good at fear, it's usually your brain, but we want both of you good at, because there's going to be a fear that your brain says, I need help with, and I want you to be able to say, I got you. Let's go. And you're going to help your brain with this. So the same thing with rage, frustration, anger, grief. These all your system needs to be able to do these well. It's the building blocks of everything else your brain will have to do. And so, even though we're starting over here with fear, what's that have to do with my parenting? What's that have to do with my business? What's that have to do? Well, you need these so that your brain can build health and wellness for you with your child, with your business, with your romance, with your intimacy partner. Gosh, if you have a history of complex PTSD, history of abuse and neglect in childhood that hasn't resolved yet, your intimacy programs are built by your caregivers. And if they were not well and their intimacy programs weren't well, that yours aren't well either. When no matter how wonderful you are, and that's what's frustrating here, is that you are wonderful and your programming is not. And so when we want to get back in there and work through the programming, I promise you there's fear in there that when we get that running, if your brain can't get it processed, it's going to shut down and it might re-traumatize you. So we can't even go there and open that stuff up yet till your system can do fear work. But if we can get that open and get that stuff processed, all of a sudden you're able to function better in intimacy situations. You're shutting down less, you're being less defensive, you're being less guarded, you're being more open, you're being more skillful and effective, and you're creating more connection, and you're enjoying and receiving more connection. All that stuff is stuff we want to build if it hasn't been built yet. And if you were raised by people that didn't have it, you probably don't have it and you want it. This is might be why some of your relationships look the way that they do. I know this has been huge for me in transforming my relationships and my marriage, my primary relationship. Is doing this work, but we start at the foundation so that we can build the momentum to go and do some really more complex work, important work that you want done that's blocking you, right? So so when you've got complex PTSD, all of this work is contingent upon your brain being able to shift out of survival mode and into a regulated state. If you're experiencing a lot of fight or flight, you're going to need to create this shift manually a lot. This is why I have people, when they start my program, do 2 hours a day of intervention work, 10 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, whatever works for them. Some people really like an hour block. They have time and flexibility for that. Other people put it in and just help their brain shift out of fight or flight. There's so many, but we have work to do. We need to get present, and we need to get the unresolved back order. It's like debt management, really. It's like debt management. It's like the snowball effect. You want to take whatever resources you have and you want to put it towards this debt. With whatever resources you have, we want to put it towards processing all this backlog of stuff. And to do that, we need to shift your survival system into let healing happen. Out of survival mode into thriving and healing mode. We would need to make that shift. So it's a lot different for people with complex PTSD than it is for people with simple disorders. They'll just come in here, do a little tapping, and their system's back up and running. They just needed help digesting the experience. You need help digesting almost a lifetime. And I'm so sorry. I have clients that are 76. I have one that's 76. She's such a gem. I have clients that are older, and gosh, there's quite a bit of work to do, and that can happen quickly. We can do that quickly. Transformations can happen in such a short amount of time. But there's a lot of work to do, and we're going to get in there and we're going to help. And so, and there's ways to do this faster and faster, because what happens is we're doing small projects in the beginning. That's why my first part of the program is just, it's like this. But there's skills that need to be built there that you're going to use forever and ever. And then the next part of the program we're not just taking a spoon in the backlog, right? I have people like, it's kind of wax on, wax off over there. But then it's like you get a little crane and you get a more advanced strategy, and now you're moving more things through, and your brain can tolerate that because it has more skills and you have more skills. And then we're going to go and we're going to grab a bunch of stuff and we're going to move it through there. And there are different skills for that. There are different strategies. Those are more advanced strategies. And then we're going to be taking more and more things and bigger and bigger. And if your brain can do the little things, it can start doing bigger and bigger. It makes bigger and bigger healing combinations. right? And it's over here like this. Well, this is true. Okay, now let's rewire that. And then this is true. Let's rewire that. And wait, hold up. These two things are true. And now it's rewiring the whole thing between the two things. And wait, now that wait over here, and it's done the same thing over here, and it's making these bigger and bigger connections and bigger wiring. And you just notice that everywhere you walk, you look like a better wired person because you are. Your brain is actually being able to go through its healing and rewiring process. And it will do this better and better and better and better and better. And so, people that come from generational trauma, we're starting in the same place. We're starting with the emotions, right? We need to make sure that your system can convert anger into assertiveness and kindness, which is what it does, and judgments into discernment, which is what brains do. Like, right? We take this stuff and brains are converting this. So, but pretty soon you're able to really process and rise out of some generational patterns because your brain can do it for you. So, I lead with brain function. It makes everything easier. If your brain cannot do these things for you and you're like, I don't care, I'm going to go do it anyway, you're going to have a hard time because you're divided, you're split, and your system doesn't work. So that's what's so important about this is that, and you can build the healing momentum. The most amount of work that needs to get done requires the least amount of skill. And so this is why I hand that part off to clients because they don't have a ton of skill when they come to me. I'm like, here, you do this, and then we'll do this together. And that the stuff we'll do takes a lot of skill. But if you don't do this other piece, it's harder to get in there and do the more advanced skill stuff because your system can't tolerate it. But the more you do, you take care of this other piece of work, that the layer of work that needs to get done, that your system's able to build that momentum to do deeper work. So I want to invite you to try use this type of brain work. I want to invite you to try 3 of my favorite interventions for this. And I have a free program called Inner World Interventions for Inner World Transformation, where I teach 3 of my favorite interventions. They don't take a long time. It takes about 45 minutes for me to train you. The interventions take this much time. I'm going to run my mouth about this much time. I have 3 videos about 15 minutes each, and you're going to learn about them. I'm going to answer questions in there, and then you're going to take it and try the interventions if you want to. They're different. They are weird looking because we're targeting a specific part of the brain. It is a very different part of the brain. So you trial the intervention and you see what your brain does, and you'll notice. And I have a video about that too. What to look out for to see if that intervention is really providing the support your survival system needed. Because you're going to watch, if your survival system gets the support, you're going to watch your whole brain work together. And there's signs you can see with this. Anyway, it's awesome. I think it's awesome, but many people also do. They're like, is this magic? No, this is not. This is your brain doing what it's unblocked. It's moving. And we're going to keep unblocking it. Okay. So, wonderful connecting with you. Try this. I want to hear all about it. Send me emails, comment on this post of this video, and let me know. The link to that free program is in the description part of this. So I will see you all later. Take care. Bye.